Hello again, my dear software developers and QA engineers. So today we will continue exploring possibilities of Playwright. So in the last video we wrote our first test that just logged in the Reddit account and checked if create post button is visible when you're logged in. So it works, but imagine that you want to write one more test that would go to this drop-down menu and let's say open the profile. Let's say for now it just goes to the profile and checks that the profile page is visible, that it gets all the widgets and stuff. So let's try to write this test. So let's copy our login test and let's rename it. And let's call it profile. And in this case, to go to the profile, we have to log in first as well. So we will leave this code here and just record the next steps. So let's try to record them with our code generator just to be faster. And now actions for our new test. We want to open the drop down and we want to go to the profile. So let's see what it recorded. We don't care about the login, we already have it. So we only need these two lines to see the locators. So we paste them here and we have this get barrel button. We can just leave maybe this part because it can be, different users, different test username, and I'd leave it as a regular expression. So find the button that has this user account menu thing, and then just go and find profile and click on it. So let's try to run this test. I'll run it in the debug mode again. So it looks like it passed. It just closed the browser very fast because I forgot to tick the show browser checkbox. So now you see we are opening profile. And we can add some assertions as well here, but we'll do it later. First, let's look at our tests. Both login and profile, they have common functionality. They both have to log in first before do anything else, before checking the button or before going to the profile. So it means that we can extract these login test into a separate common test and not to have it twice. And another improvement we can do here, instead of filling out login form every time when we need to run the next test, we could do it just before all tests that we have and save the data, the user data, token, cookies or whatever, just to save it to the file and then just to load it to the browser every time when we are running new test. That could help us to speed up these things. Instead of spending 10 seconds on the login flow, we would just load the user data into the browser every time for milliseconds. So let's try and see how we can do it. So we want to avoid repeating this code everywhere. So instead we could move it to the global setup of Playwright and then it will run only once before all the tests. So let's refer to the documentation to see how to do it. So this is the page that describes how to work with global setup and global teardown. So global setup is a function that will run every time before the all tests. And global teardown is a function that will run every time after all tests are done. So we are interested in this global setup. Here we have an example how to add this function. So in your Playwright config, let's add it first. And then let's copy the global setup itself. And let's create a file here. And instead of this boilerplate login code, let's paste our code. So we need to go to the page and log in. Here we are also saving our storage state. This contains all the cookies that we need for being logged in. So it saves it to the file storage state. And where this file name is coming from, it's coming from this config project use. I think, let me check the documentation. So yeah, it is specified here. Let's copy this. We don't need base URL, I think, for now. Or we can actually we can use it as well. Let's add it here. But instead of the base URL, we will add our login URL. And this state JSON is going to be file where we store everything. So now we can replace this link with our base URL. Now, if we try to run it, okay, this is not happy about something. It is the use here is twice. So I'll copy this and I delete this. My mouse doesn't work very well with this laptop. So yeah, I paste it here. So we can try and run our profile test now. Let's just remove all the logic for login. So we need to go to reddit.com and then click the buttons. So let's try to run it. So you see our login happened even we didn't have anything about it here. Because we added this line here and it is automatically populated to our browser. You can also see that here the new file state.json appeared and it has all the cookies inside. That is very, very nice. So basically now we don't need the separate test for login. We can just test it while we are testing other stuff. So I can just go and delete this test. So now we can just write our assertions. For example, let's expect our create avatar button to be there. So we can just expect create avatar to be visible. So let's run it now again. And let's first test the negative scenario. Let's test the failure. Now the test should fail because this is a bullshit text I added here. And yes, it is failing. So now let's test the positive one. And now it is passed. So that's our login flow, and I think we could improve it even more because now we're getting these cookies every time we're running the test. We're logging again and getting them again. But what we could do is we could avoid it. We could just check if they are expired or not, and if they are not expired, then we could log in again. So let's see when they are expiring. Sunday, 6th of October. So these cookies are valid for quite a long time. So we can probably safely update them, let's say once a day, every day, to check to withdraw new cookie. So let's add this check for expiration. Let's say we want our login timeout to be 24 hours. So that's our seconds. Every time when we get the cookie, we want to get the date. So it's gonna be new date, get time. I think that's how it is. And then we can just create a file. Let's say metadata.json, where we could save this stuff. So let's say we want to write to the file, and we need to import fs. If you wonder where it is coming from, it is something that we have in Node.js by default, so we don't have to install it. So we have this write file sync, and it's gonna be metadata.json. And then what we're gonna write there, we're gonna say last, it should be in quotes because it's a JSON, last logged in, and then our logged in date. So we are saving this little piece of JSON. Okay, it's not happy by something. Yeah, I made a typo here. So here we're saving our login date to the file at the end of our login flow. And then in the beginning of our login flow, we can get it. So we can read the file again using fs. And then we can get it last logged in. And then we can check if it is expired. So our condition will be if we have these, if we don't have this variable, we have to set it, so we have to log in. Or if this last logged in plus our login timeout multiplied by 1000, because it is milliseconds. So if this value is less than new date get time, so in this case it is expired, and we can say that if expired, then if it is expired, we actually are having our login flow, and if it is not expired, then we are skipping our login flow. So let's copy this code inside the brackets for expired, and let's also console log here cookies are expired, logging in. So let's try to, okay, it says it doesn't exist on type buffer. It is because here we can set encoding, and let's say we're gonna do UTF-8, and we also need to parse our JSON, of course. So here we need to do JSON parse metadata. In this case, we can get our value. So, should work now. Let's try. You see we have this empty metadata file. It is actually should be this. It should be valid JSON file. We could add a little bit more code here just to handle the case when there is no file or the file is empty, but honestly I'm too lazy. I just want to show you the high-level overview of the idea. So let's go here and run the code. So you see it says cookies are expired, logging in again, and it is logging in and running our test. And we can close the browser now. And if I run it again, it will say skipping login flow, and everything happens much faster. And that's what we wanted to achieve. So that's it for today for our login flow. Of course, we could also improve it further. If you are testing your own website and if you have like the post API for authorization, you can, for example, authenticate with API request instead of doing it through the UI. But in such case, like now in Reddit, it is I'm not very familiar with their API, and I just don't want to bother, and I prefer to log in through the UI. But if it's your own website, your own API, you could send just a request here with user and password, and it would be even faster than what we do now. So if you want, you can try it out as well. So that's it for today. In the next video, I will continue writing tests and show you all these little tips and tricks of Playwright. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned. Bye.